Okay, so the last recording cut off at Universal Design for Learning, and I was just giving an overview of what that is. I also want to discuss Universal Design for Learning and how we can address that through the use of technology. Now, offering students different ways to see the information and different ways to express what they know doesn't require technology. But there are a lot of technological ways to support this idea of universal design for learning. So for representation, that's how the teacher is representing the knowledge for students. For example, even putting a slideshow of some sort, like a PowerPoint or a Google Slides presentation together for your students includes, text and visual cues, which is a step up from, just lecturing with no visual cues behind you. So something as simple as Google Slides, or maybe you allow students to watch a video so that they can stop and go back and re-listen to what you've said. That's another way to allow students to interact with the data. There are also simulations and games that are a little more interactive. Interactive types of reading that might have hyperlinks or some support in visual or audio. There's also collaborative editing, so students might be working together to highlight and interact with the text like you did in Diigo. Read and Write is a tool that allows students to transcribe using their voice. So these are different ways that they might get the information from the instructor. And then there's different ways to express themselves or present what they know. So in the same vein as the teacher presenting the knowledge, students should be able to represent what they know in multiple ways. So maybe that's creating a video rather than putting pen to paper and just writing a paragraph. Or maybe that's creating a blog or a website that gets to show what they know more multimodally. Or even further, they might be able to design a game or some 3D object. That might be a good model of a representation of some knowledge that they need. Multimodal text we discussed, but these things can happen in iMovie or something called Book Creator, which we'll look at later on in the semester. And then engagement, so how students get motivated and participate. A lot of this is really the choice of mode, like how many choices can we give students to be able to participate? Maybe they participate in an online discussion or video discussion rather than just an in-person discussion. Or maybe you offer Pear Deck as a way for them to engage with your presentation rather than just sitting and listening. So really UDL is about choices, of both how you present the knowledge and how students interact with the knowledge and show what they know. And finally, the last framework that I want to review is a critical media literacy. Now this one is also called digital literacies. It comes out of the idea that since the advent of digital technologies, we have a new type of literacy that we discussed in the first online class. So, reading and writing has changed with these new technologies. And so we need to understand how to use them, to be literate in them. But then we also now need to be critical of them and the messages that they send, and even the messages that we create for ourselves when we're creating within these. So let me read you this definition. Music, social media, TV, and video games all have a strong influence on how people see the world. Critical media literacy expands the notion of literacy to include different forms of media. For example, media culture, information and communication technologies, and new media. A focus on critical media literacy heightens students' awareness of and ability to critically analyze the relationships between media and audiences and information and power. So there's a really great video at this link too if you're interested in checking that out. That kind of gives some more examples of critical media literacy. The core concepts of critical media literacy are listed here, and then there are key questions. So these are things that we want to instill in our students. So I want you to know about them. But then this is also something you'll want to pass on to your students in age-appropriate ways. And we'll do this in our unit on, safety online, privacy, and I want to add this on top of it, which is, understanding that media is created by somebody and they have a message. So the first core concept, all media messages are constructed. And the question for students to ask is, who made this, right? So if they're looking at something very propaganda-ish, they should be thinking, this was made by a store that's trying to sell me something, right? 2, media messages are constructed using a creative language with its own rules. So the question here is, what techniques are used to attract my attention? How is it put together? Are they using really attractive people? Are they using really bright, vibrant images to attract children? These are something that you and kids should be thinking about. The third core concept is different people experience the same media message differently. And the key question is, how might different people understand this message differently from me? So is this designed to attract my attention? Is it designed for a certain race, a certain class? And how do we understand that? Core concept number 4, media have embedded values and points of views. And the question is, what lifestyles, values, and points of view are represented in or omitted from this message? So again, is this representing just a middle class a lifestyle? Are we leaving out views of poor people or other races, ethnicities, people with varying disabilities? Who are we leaving out? The last core concept are media organized to gain profit and or power. So why was this message sent? People create, or commercials are created for a specific purpose, and so we should understand why that is and where the messages are coming from. So this is something that we're going to think about more and more in our Twitter chats. We're going to focus on partially on thinking about technology and issues of justice and how we can use technology to make our classrooms more equitable, and how we can teach kids to really think through the different types of media that they're using. Okay, see ya.